What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Wingin podcast. Looks like I'm flying solo for tonight for a little bit. Hope everybody out there is doing pretty good. So anybody been playing Super Mario RPG or just me? That's what I've been playing on mostly this week, Super Mario RPG, and I've been playing a little bit of Star Ocean again. Um, Both of those games are actually like I told you guys last week. I had no intention of picking up Star Ocean until I played that demo. So if you're still worried about like that game, I would say play the demo first. It's a 3 hour demo. Like you got 3 hours to play it and check it out and see what you like. See if you like it or don't like it, if it fits your taste or not. Super Mario RPG, what can I say? I did a Let's Do This Quietly, I want to say Friday, and I did another playthrough last night. Uh, that game is way too much fun. Um, I've never had a problem with the remake slash remaster if it came from the 6th gen and below. You guys know how I feel about constant remasters of stuff that was in the HD era, aka Last of Us. Look, if you want to get it, fine. That's fine by me. I just don't see the point, especially if you already got it on PS4. I don't really see the point. That kind of stuff kind of irks me a little bit because then you'll have people making up excuses for other remasters and stuff. It's just like I said, I don't like that, and I don't like the Resident Evil 4 stuff. Just because I did play Resident Evil 4 on my Xbox, and I prefer the Wii controls, if that makes sense. I just prefer that control scheme. I'm sorry, I just like the Wii Remote Chuck better than anybody else. Uh RJ, we might get to the PS4 PS Portal in a little bit because that's been kind of funny to me, especially the reactions going out on Twitter slash X, whatever you want to call it. Um, I, that has people uh that people are really losing their minds over it. I didn't think it was that serious. I mean, if you want to get it, but it ain't been that serious to me about the whole PS Portal situation. Um, that's been kind of funny. Dark Void, how you loving Spider-Man 2? I've heard nothing but good things about it. I have not picked that up as I do not have a PS5. So I did love Miles Morales though. The Miles Morales expansion slash game they did for the PS4, I did love that. So there's that. Persona 5 Tactics. I have not picked I'm not really into Persona like that, so I haven't heard anything about it though. I'm wondering how it plays. So there is that. So we had a couple of things happen this week. First, there was the Game Awards nominations, which that's where the title of this episode came from. There's a lot of people that are upset about their game. There's a couple games that got ignored or ignored, I should say. And I don't want to say that it was truly ignored. I mean, I think we can all agree 2023 has been a stacked year as far as game releases are concerned. Something was good, something had to give. Me personally, I think they probably would have came out better had they did like individual game of the year, like Nintendo Game of the Year, Microsoft Game of the Year, Sony Game of the Year, maybe even PC Game of the Year, and then do an overall. That way, that could have actually probably alleviated some of it. But let me see if I can pull this up. The sad thing about it is we knew that people were gonna get upset. And that's just the truth. They were gonna get upset about it. There was no way around it, to be honest. And to be fair, to be fair, it's just one of those situations where you're like, hey, I don't know if if there was ever gonna be a situation in which uh you're gonna be able to please everybody. The only thing I would probably say, and this is just me spitballing here, will probably be it probably wasn't a good idea to put Resident Evil 4 in that game of the year conversation just because it is a remaster or a remake. I mean, um, if anything, we should probably have if since this is a thing that's probably going to happen going forward, there probably needs to be its own category. If it was me, I'd make it its own category because we had more than a few uh, remakes slash remasters happening this year, and if you do that, that frees up that space for something else. Because as it stands now, I just don't think that RE4 should be in that game of the year category. To be honest, um, but this is one of those holes that Keeley and his team dug for themselves because of what they've done in the past. They've done that in the past, so it's kind of hard to say, "Hey, you know, th- hey, this is how we had to do it." It's just one of those things. I understand people being upset because, like, to me, I think it probably would have been better if they would have had something like maybe Starfield or Octopath Traveler or something. But I knew something was going to get left to the wayside, so to speak, just because the year was just stacked. To be to be honest, the year was just we've had way too many releases for everybody to be happy. I mean, there's a lot of people who forgot about Hogwarts Legacy, and because that came out in February. Because to me, that should have been in there. If we're being honest, I mean that really should have been in there. Uh, if they were gonna do that, that really should have been in there. Trying to see if I can pull up the nominees. I don't think I can without them showing what I voted for. Now I don't need y'all seeing my bias. Let's see. Do they have? Let's see, view all categories. Yeah, they don't. Once you vote, they just show what you voted for. So that's not gonna happen. All right, but yeah, Zodia, best remake yes should be say depending on how many there are that year. I think in this year it probably just would have been probably best remaster category because I know it's RE4, I know it's Metroid Prime, and I know Mario RPG. I think there were a couple other ones that got the remake. Uh, that would have been classified as a remake instead of a remaster. But probably if it's like low on that number, you probably could like make it one category. But that's personally what I would have done had it been me. Um Street Fighter 6, yeah, I could see Street Fighter 6 being nominated just because they really did do a good job with that one. Like I said, I enjoyed the demo for that one. I still need to pick that one up, but I did enjoy the demo for that one. I like the little tweaks to the gameplay that they made. So that one is actually a good. That's actually a good one. If Mortal Kombat One was a little bit uh, tighter on release, I probably would say that one as well. But I can understand why that one wasn't going to be in there in that conversation. But it's one of those situations where I don't think uh, I just don't think Resident Evil 4 should have been in there. I just don't think it should have been in there in that regard. Other than that, there were a couple other ones that I think got shafted. I think Octopath Traveler got shafted because I don't understand how that didn't get anything. Because I don't even think that was in the. Did it even was it even in the category for best music? I don't think it was. No, it wasn't. Yeah, that should have been in best score in music, in my opinion. At the very least, it should have been in best score in music or in the best RPG category, just because that sounds. If you played that game, if you play Octopath Traveler 2, uh, that game's amazing. Especially if you're an RPG head. So yeah, but this year has been. I don't think we'll ever see another year like this for a while anyway. Just because a lot of this stuff got pushed. A lot of this stuff got released this year because of the pandemic and stuff being pushed back from when the pandemic hit. So there is that. Uh, there is that thing that actually caused the situation. But yeah, other than that, if you guys haven't had a chance to, you can go over to thegameawards.com and put your voting in. Like I said, I already did mine, so I just found this week's to be a little bit funny slash funny because people were getting way too upset over this when it's just like I'm like, dude, this has been that kind of a year. Honestly, it's been that kind of a year. Then we had Indie Direct. Pretty much, I think that what the Game Awards nomination it was on a Monday. The Indie Direct was on a Tuesday. Um, a, a, a lot of interesting little games in there. I did pick up the demo for How. I have not played it yet. I kind of got busy playing Super Mario RPG and just forgot about it. So I'll probably wind up playing that one a little bit just to see what it's like. I love that art style for it, but the only other one in there, and the direct itself wasn't that long. It was only about 20 minutes, so it really wasn't long at all. But the other one that I actually was interested in was that Blade Chimera, the announcement for Blade Chimera, which is going to be dropping next year in 2024. That looks interesting to me. Kind of hoping we get a demo for that. Not holding my breath, but I'm hoping we get a demo for that. Just because that actually looked pretty good. Uh, all things considered, that was just one of those games that's the one that caught my eye out of the Indie Direct was the Blade Chimera game and how. The other ones, it's just like a normal Indie Direct. There was a couple of them in there that was pretty cool. There was one of them, I think it was like a Highland game. What was the name of that? A Highland song. That was actually pretty interesting to me a little bit. Backpack Hero was weird. I don't. That was a weird one. That one and Core Keeper. Those two were kind of weird. Like I might play it, I might not. The other one that actually caught me by surprise was Shantae Advance. Um, they've had how many games since Shantae since the Game Boy Advance? I'm like, y'all just now being able to do that one. I want to hear the story behind that, to be honest, just because that's kind of interesting that they had the Game Boy Advance version. They just now being able to do that. So, I mean, it's one of those situations where you're like, okay, yeah, that was kind of interesting just to watch because I just want to know the backstory behind why that didn't get released at all. And they've had all these other Shantae games come out, but yeah, that's just me. The other thing that I found interesting this week, to be honest, was the Wonder Woman live service game. WB, um, well, it's not just WB. It's Ubisoft. It's the bigger publishers are trying to make games as a service a thing. And I know I've said it. I know Shadow Fox said it. I know Andre has said it. Especially in the states, we ain't got the infrastructure for that. To be honest, I mean, not for that to be like something that could be for truly everybody. I mean, because you got places where your internet ain't feasible. There's places where there are still places that don't have fiber. Like they have the fiber lines, it's just not there. There's some places that don't have towers, or don't have cell towers. So it's very interesting that they keep trying to push this live service, these live service games. Now WB did come back and say that the Wonder Woman game wasn't going to be live service. I find that hard to believe, just because I think that it probably, in all points and purposes, was supposed to be live service, and then they got that feedback, and that feedback wasn't positive. So they were like, "Hey, we got to ask that at this point in time." That's where I think that went. Um, I can't see them saying no to that just because that's the way these uh, companies are trying to push gaming. They're trying to push it towards live service, just like they pushed everything toward HD back in the back in from 6 to 7 gen. They pushed everything to HD, knowing good and well that those TVs were ridiculously priced. I don't know if y'all remember this or not, but when the first ones came out, like a 32-inch HD was like 2,000, up between $1,500 and $2,000. That was like for a 32-inch at certain places. God forbid a 47. Now you get a 65 for 450 if you go into Target at the right day, and that's a QLED. If you're lucky. But yeah, I think that's what this is. What they're trying to do is just like force the issue, and I just don't think it's gonna work. Just because of how I know how the stuff is set up here in the States, I just don't think that's feasible at this point in time. And plus, I think it's probably going to wind up losing companies a lot of money. I mean, the whole point of doing it is for profit, and I don't think it's going to be very profitable. That being said, let's talk about that PlayStation Portal. So, reportedly, and this comes out of pushsquare.com. So, apparently, the PlayStation Portal has sold out. Now, my question is it because they made a limited stock, or is it because, you know, scalpers? I think it's a bit of both. I think Sony probably didn't make as many on purpose because they didn't, to be honest, they probably didn't know if it was going to sell or not. And then the scalpers probably did buy up as many as they could. I really do think that, especially when it comes to gaming, that these companies need to do something about the scalping situation, because it has, over the past couple of years, gotten completely out of hand, in my opinion, where you're trying to get stuff and they're doing like, okay, you have a date for pre-order, and you can't pre-order anything because by the time the pre-order goes open, the pre-orders are done within 30 minutes, which to me, companies need to do a better job with that, because nothing pisses me off more than that whole Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Definitive Edition debacle, where it wasn't even coming day and date. And for some reason, Nintendo didn't think to be like, okay, look, since we already know it's not going to be day and date, we're just going to have whoever pre-orders it, you're limited. They should have did, you're limited to 2 at most, and we're just going to be counting how many we got to make. They didn't do that. They just, hey, the pre-orders are open, come to the website, and they were gone by the time you got to it. Because I remember I wasn't even at work that day, and by the time I went and got on, I was sitting there clicking refresh and couldn't get one, which to me makes no sense. So I think it's one of those situations where I think Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, they need to either find a way to combat it or something, because this is getting to the point where it's out of hand. Now, the funny thing about it is the scalpers, I don't know how they're going to move them. Like, if people ain't buying them, I don't know how they're going to move. I guess they're banking on people being desperate for the holidays and willing to spend a ridiculous amount of money just to say they have it. And I don't know if that's going to actually work, because there's some people who don't do that. Like, I remember there was one story where a guy had like, I forgot what he had. I think it's right back when the Series S came out, and he had like so many he couldn't get rid of them. I'm like, well, you shouldn't have did that. You shouldn't have bought 10, trying to resell them, trying to be a reseller. I'm like, you shouldn't have did that. So it's one of those situations. Void, I think one of the only ways you can probably combat it, honestly, is, well, if you're selling them via your store, your place, like for instance with the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Definitive Edition thing, when they had it, you had to pre-order via Nintendo.com. They could have done it where, okay, you can only get one per one or two uh, per user. So you had to have a login, and that way you don't have to worry about bots because you have to have a login, and then you can only get two with that login at most. That's how you can combat it that way. Now, as far as like everything else, I just think there has to be a way to do it. Um, but I think it's one of those situations where they're probably not going to do it because it ain't affecting them yet. But as soon as it starts affecting their bottom line, best believe it will get uh it will get resolved extremely quickly as soon as it start affecting their bottom line. To be fair, um, I will say the Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom one, they did do a re-release. I want to say back in July or August of that definitive edition. I was actually able to get one then because that's when they put it where you could only if you went to the Nintendo.com site, you could only get one. Like they stuck it at one. So that Tears of the Kingdom Steelbook and the pin set and all that, you could get one, but it was limited to one per person when they did that restock. So that's the way I would probably approach it if you're doing it that way. Um, but yeah, this is to the point where it's like getting ridiculous for real, in my opinion, at least. I mean, I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but that's just my opinion on that situation with as far as scalping is concerned. Um, there was something else that dropped that came out. I'm trying to see if I can find it. Oh, they did have a Q&A for the Game Awards. And Jeff was doing a live Q&A. I think that was that a little while ago, or is it still going on? It might still be going on. Yeah, it's still going on. They're doing a live Q&A. This is gonna be funny because if I don't know how that's gonna go for them. Hopefully it goes well. There was something else I wanted to bring up tonight. Where was talked about Last of Us being announced. I would like to know what your guys' thoughts on that because, like me, I've always been because how many? Well, this is Last of Us 2. It's not Last of Us 1. So there's that. Last of Us 1 got remade. What they did 2 or 3 remasters for that. They did one for the PS4. They did another one, and then I think they did one for the PS5 for the first Last of Us, and then Last of Us 2. This is the one they're doing now. I think this is the first one they're doing for that one, but they are releasing it with a new gameplay mode. It's supposed to be a roguelike gameplay mode. I don't know if that's what exactly people were asking for because I thought they were supposed to be like a multiplayer mode to come with, unless that's the multiplayer mode is a roguelike mode. That's kind of weird in my opinion. I think people are going overboard with the roguelike thing also. Just as far as like a game mode that people do. Um RJ, that could be the case. For them playing it safe. I still think that they kind of put themselves into a corner, going so hard in the paint for like uh more cinematic games and just like abandoning what got them to where they are, what got them beloved in the first place between PS1 and PS2. Because back then, like, dude, they had mascots. They had legit mascots. Like, why haven't we seen a Sly Cooper game? I mean, they still own it, from what I understand. Why haven't we seen that? Yeah, if Naughty Dog wanted to do more quote unquote mature stuff, that's still no excuse to have to abandoned Jack and Daxter. Um, they let Spiral and Crash go to Activision. I would have never let that happen. But yeah, Sony put themselves into this situation, and with the closing of Japan studio, which to me made absolutely no sense. I don't know how any PlayStation fan was happy about that. But they acted like they loved it. They acted like they loved the idea. I'm like, this is not good. So I just I don't. They put themselves in this situation, in my opinion. So then the whole thing with them, what it was a couple months ago, them coming out saying they were gonna put 2.5 billion into uh, their first party. I'm like, y'all should have been doing that from the get. But I'm like, what do you have outside of like God of War and uh, Last of Us? Because Uncharted, I don't know where you go with Uncharted. Um, just because that story's been told, unless you go start making games when he's younger. Um, well, they do have Sunset Overdrive. That's right, RJ. They do have Sunset Overdrive. So theoretically, they should think about throwing the sequel, doing that. I mean, but it it's gonna sound bad, but I'm of the thought that like there's uh they put too much into trying to chase Microsoft. And I the reason why I say that is if you look at what Microsoft did when they came in, Sony tried to keep up with them, and when they shouldn't have did that. Like, dude, they Sony, even when Sony was at their conglomerate best, they did not have Microsoft money. They've never had Microsoft's money. And I think they put themselves into a corner doing that, trying to keep up with the Joneses. Because yeah, Microsoft can buy off people, you can't. Like, you shouldn't even try to do that, in my opinion. I don't have a problem with cinematic games, but the problem is when that's all you focus on, it's bound to blow up in your face. I'm like, you can get mad at Nintendo all you want to, but they do have more variety than anybody else in gaming. They have stuff that's mature. They have stuff that's for teens. They have stuff for everybody. They do have a wider variety than everybody else. In all honesty, and I like all three of y'all. Know I like all three of them. I like Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. I'm just sitting back looking at it. I'm like, I don't know why they feel the need to go overly cinematic. I'm like, have some balance to your stuff. I mean, hell, that's why Microsoft's in the situation they in now. They've cultivated their base to only like a certain thing, and anytime you try to introduce something else to that, they rebel against it because that's not what they want. Which is why I've always found that whole email that Phil Spencer said with the whole them trying to get Nintendo. I'm like, bro, you don't condition your base to not even like stuff like that. You've conditioned them to not like it. So if you've conditioned them to not like that, then why would you think buying them is gonna do anything for you? Like you don't even do stuff with the studios you own. Once again, Perfect Dark. Where is it? And this is another one that I was talking to a buddy of mine on Twitter the other day. The was it the Star Wars game that was supposed to be getting remade? Knights of the Old Republic, the first one. I mean, we haven't heard about that since they actually did that whole reveal back in what was it 2019? They did a reveal for that one, and we heard nothing about it. The last thing I heard about it was the writer left. Right after they made that statement that they were fixing the issues with the script. I'm like, there weren't no issues with the script. What are you talking about? I'm like, this ain't gonna work. And then all of a sudden, that writer left, and then haven't heard anything since. So that game's probably dead too, which I found to be odd. That they would go through all that trouble. Um, the I'm not gonna say I'm surprised Final Fantasy VII remake worked, especially with all the changes they made. I'm just surprised that they're doing that much stuff to the story. Yeah, I'm surprised they're doing that much to the actual story of Final Fantasy VII, which is going to be confusing to those of us that already played through the first one. Zodiac, I don't know, but they had one, so you shouldn't need a writer for that unless you're trying to just punch some stuff up. Because we all know there's certain things that change over time, so you will probably need to punch some stuff up. But in the case of Knights of the Old Republic, you shouldn't have had to. But I think they were going for full on like they did with Final Fantasy VII Remake, where it was like they were changing up gameplay elements as well. Because there was one thing that was one thing I thought I I didn't really care for how they did the gameplay of Knights of the Old Republic. That first one, I liked. That's why I like Jade Empire a little bit more than Knights of the Old Republic. And even though I like Jade Empire, I kind of if they were to do a remake to that, they would need to do something with that gameplay, just because the combat in there does have a little bit of a lag to it. I like it. It's just you can tell that it lags, especially when you're playing it on. Even if you're only playing it on a Xbox One or a Series S, you can sure tell on the Series X that there is a real lag to it. So as far as like button input, so that's one of those ones where I'm like, okay, if you were gonna do a remake, yeah, you would need to tighten up the actual um, control scheme for Jade Empire. But I've always thought Jade Empire had the better gameplay as opposed to Knights of the Old Republic. So I don't know why they would need a writer out of just like punching stuff up. Um, but yeah, they had one. Or at least from what I understand, they had one. But we haven't heard anything about that game though. I mean, I haven't. I don't know if any one of you guys have, but I haven't heard anything about that game since that. It was kind of around because I want to say that the last time I heard anything about that game was the same time that whole Perfect Dark situation happened, where they were bringing in, I think it was Crystal Dynamics. I think it was they were bringing in to help with Perfect Dark. And we still haven't heard anything about Perfect Dark. So there's that. And y'all know I love Perfect Dark. Well, I love the first Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark Zero, I don't really care for, but the first Perfect Dark, I enjoy that game a lot. It's like one of my favorite FPSs. I like that one more than I like GoldenEye, to be honest. GoldenEye is fun, but I found Perfect Dark to be the better game, in my opinion. You know, so I was very interested in seeing what they were going to do, especially when they put together that little trailer. And that's another thing. Like, how are you putting together these trailers for games that you don't even know they ain't even nowhere near completed? I'm talking about not like what Nintendo did with Metroid Prime 4 when it was just basically a graphic and the Metroid Prime 1 music. I'm talking about they actually have a trailer. Like Everwild had a trailer. Perfect Dark had a trailer. Like they had teaser trailers and nothing for years, nothing. Like Metroid Prime 4 didn't have a teaser trailer. It just had Metroid Prime 4 in an Adobe graphic and the Metroid Prime 1 uh, theme to it. To me, that wasn't a teaser. That was something that shouldn't even been shown, in my opinion. But here we are. It's been, yeah, because that was what 2018, and then they had to do the 20. I think it was 2019 was when they said they had to restart it. So yeah, there's that. Let's see. All right, so Dark Void, what announcements are we looking forward to at the Game Awards? Uh, there's gonna probably be one real surprise, one or two real surprises. I don't expect to see a lot of surprises, to be honest. I expect to see a lot of world premiere of a game that was at E3. I mean, y'all know how this goes. We already know how this goes. We don't watch enough of these over the past years to know that world premiere usually just means they showed it at E3 or Paris Games and here's the trailer. But I honestly, I would be surprised. Um, the one thing that would surprise me is if they actually do Metroid Prime 2 and 3 uh, reveal at the Game Awards. I could see them doing that. I can see Nintendo doing that. Not shadow dropping, but actually doing that because there's been rumors that both of those games that all three were done. All three were done, and they do that, if they do that, then I will probably think that there will probably be something with Metroid Prime 4 will probably be shown as well. I think uh, RJ, you think Kojima's going to be there? I mean, he might. He might. I mean, he was there. He showed up last year to present, so I wouldn't be surprised. To be honest, I just want my boy Joseph to be there. I know he ain't got a game, but I just want him to be there, just because he's awesome. He makes the 3.5 hours go by with his antics. I just love that guy. Other than that, I don't really have like any other like hopes for the Game Awards. I'm just down for the ride. I know some people don't really like the Game Awards. I like doing it just because it's fun to see. I like that one, and I like Paris Games. The Paris Game Show is usually okay, but I do like the Game Awards because it's usually something weird happens and it's kind of funny to me. I just hope this time they don't when they doing the crowd pan, they don't zoom in on somebody's sleep, because let's be real, that was funny when they did that. it ain't. It was funny when they had that dude with his mouth wide open. That was hilarious. Uh, it ain't the Game Awards of Kojima ain't there for Justice declares. You know what, Zodi? You are absolutely right on that. I mean, that had to be one of the most cringiest, funniest moments of all time when he did that. And it can't say declare his love. He was giving him that award for being his friend, and that was like, dude, wait, what? This dude got an award for being your okay. That's just weird. And I think everybody thought it was weird too. I don't know if anybody didn't think that was weird, because it was just like it came out of nowhere and it was just weird. So, oh yeah, the whole Bill Clinton thing. I don't think they're gonna have that this year. I don't think, especially after Paris, where that other dude came on stage. I really do think they're gonna have security to where, like, if you're not gonna be if you're not a developer or whatever, or you're not presenting, you're probably not gonna be near the stage. You're probably not going to be near the stage this year. At least that's what I'm thinking, because, like I said last week, Jeff was disturbed when that dude came up on stage this summer. So I can see him being like, oh hell no, that's not happening this year. Like, that is not going to happen. What's up, Paz? What's up, Thousand Star? Um, I can see him. I can see him being like, nope, not gonna happen. We're not doing this. We're not playing this game this year. So even though apparently that kid had a channel, a Twitch channel or a YouTube channel, that's what his whole channel was doing stuff like that. Which I'm like, I'm not gonna pay a ticket to do something like that. I don't. Nah, I'm not gonna buy a ticket because I know them tickets ain't cheap to sit up front. So I'm not going to do that so I can get banned from ever coming back. Because I may want to come back one year. I'm not going to do nothing that stupid. But then again, that's just me. I don't like the idea of spending a lot of money to do something stupid so I can get banned from a place. That's just not my idea of a good time. Plus, there's a pretty good chance nowadays you can probably get arrested, because all it takes is something weird, something stupid to happen, and yeah, that's it for you. So nah, that's not very smart. But that's that whole what is it, the pranking thing that they like to do? The pranking. It was some of them joints really ain't pranks. They just like, why are you doing that type deal. Um, but I'm just here for uh, the animosity when people get mad that their game didn't win game of the year. So I'm just here for that because I would like to know what some of y'all personal game of the years. Like my personal game of the year this year, because I've played a few titles, and it was for the longest. It was actually Octopath Traveler. And I've been going back between Octopath Traveler and Tears of the Kingdom, and Sea of Stars. I've been going back and forth between all three of them, and it's still going to be Tears of the Kingdom, just because all the stuff you can do in it. It ain't because I'm a Zelda fan, but it's just because of all the stuff you can do in it, and on top of that, there was a whole nother level or layer that we didn't even know about. We knew about Sky, we knew about Hyrule, but we knew nothing about the depths until we got the game. And to be able to do that and be able to make that game work, that's my personal game of the year. Um, it it's just that's the best game I've personally played. Now, I have not played everything. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I don't get review copies of stuff. I don't I have to pay for everything I get. So my personal game of the year, honestly, is Tears of the Kingdom, just for that purpose, just because like I have not played anything that insane in an open world game. They did a good job. The team did a good job of making Hyrule feel familiar and different all at the same time. Because if you go through it, if you go through it thinking it's Breath of the Wild, you're gonna be in for a rude awakening. Because there's stuff that because I played Breath of the Wild, I put like I think my last total was like 400 something hours in Breath of the Wild, and I've been all over that map. And some of the stuff in Tears of the Kingdom, when I went there, I'm like, I don't think I've ever been here before. No one I've been there. So they did a good job with that. And the whole depths thing was just added a layer that, to be honest, especially when I first went in there, I wasn't ready for it. To be honest, I just really wasn't ready for it. Plus, I love the new abilities. I mean, the new abilities are on point. And plus, Samurai / Samoan Ganondorf for the win. I don't know which version of Ganondorf I like. I like Ocarina of Time Ganondorf, but I am kind of partial to Super Saiyan 3 Hyrule Warriors Ganondorf. But Samurai / The Rock's cousin Ganondorf from Tears of the Kingdom is actually pretty cool too. So I don't know. All I know is Ganondorf from Tears of the Kingdom need to be the new model for Smash Brothers when they come out on the next system. That's the version they need to go with, because that dude has, and that's the moves that he needs to have. Yeah, so that's one of those things. Hey, what's up, dude? I will say this. I agree with you on this. The Tales of Symphonia remaster, even though they did that patch did help that they did it on August, it took too long for that patch to come out. Just to be fair. Now, I will say that it did fix a lot of things, but they were taking it from the PS3 version, and it is apparently they just did a 1-to-1 just to get it out, and they shouldn't have did that. Like that's what I don't understand. Like if Bandai Namco is not a small company, so you mean to tell me you couldn't have nobody quality test this? Because the Tales of Symphonia remaster was messed up across all platforms, so they had to patch it for all platforms, which tells me you shouldn't have put the game out. Same thing with Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 1 had an issue on PC and Switch, and some people were complaining about stuff on Xbox as well. I'm like, wait a minute, y'all didn't quality test this? Like you would think they would have quality tested that game, especially like Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat, you would think WB would be like, hey, we got to make sure this game is as good as it can be before we release it. At least that's what I would have thought. But I'm not in those meetings, so I can't. I have no idea. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it for this episode. We won't have a episode next Sunday because that's gonna be Thanksgiving. So we'll be back. I think it's December 3rd. I think it is. I think it's December 3rd is when we'll be back. Yeah, we'll be back December 3rd. Next week we won't have a podcast episode though because of the because of Thanksgiving. So we'll be off next Sunday, but the following Sunday, the 3rd, we'll have a podcast and it'll be our road to the Game Awards because the Game Awards is on December 7th. So you guys know how we like to do on the Game Awards. Chat will be open and yeah, if you've been to any of ours that we've done in the past, you know how it goes. The jokes will be flowing. So hope you guys enjoyed the podcast tonight. Really do appreciate everybody coming out and supporting. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget, if you haven't had a chance to, check out Super Mario RPG. 2 gameplay vids somewhere in YouTube somewhere. One is a Let's Do This Quietly, and the other one is with commentary. Both of them are over an hour, so just so you know. But peace out, y'all. Have a good one. We will see you guys on December 3rd, not next Sunday, but December 3rd. So peace out, people. Have a good one, and we will catch you then. Later.